Okay, so to start, we are actually going to open up two different files. So in Photoshop, go ahead, File Open, or excuse me, sorry, File New. And we are going to open up just your typical letter size paper. So it should be 8.5 by 11. And let's go ahead and name this one Pop Art 1. And then let's start with the transparent background. We can go ahead and leave this at 300. Then press Create. Now, right away, I need you to create another one. File, New. And this one, we need to do custom size. So we're going to name this one Pop Art 2. And we want this one to be half of the size of this 8.5 by 11. So that will make this 4.25 by 5.5. Keep it the same, 300 and transparent, then just press Create. So now we're going to be working on this Pop Art 2 for now, but keep Pop Art 1 open. So you should have an image downloaded, and you can just take that from Finder and go in here. So here's my image here, and you can see now that to get rid of this, I have to press Enter. So I need to come over here, right-click to rasterize the layer so I can edit it. So my first task here is I need to go ahead and I need to make sure that this picture fits this this entire image here, canvas. So I'm going to just do Command T. And as I'm doing this, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and actually just drag this out. So what that does is that it makes sure when I'm holding down the Shift key, it's making sure that my image is proportionate. Okay, so if it wasn't, then I'd be all stretched out or too wide. So that's why you hold down Shift, okay? So once you have it so it fills in most of the entire screen, and if you want it to be more of the face, you just make that part bigger. Just go ahead and press Enter and place your image, okay? Now, before we go on, we need to take the crop tool, which is this one here, fifth tool down, and you need to go ahead and drag over the area that you want. And the area that we want is actually this entire size of this canvas, because as you can see, all of that extra is behind here, and we don't want that for this next step, okay? So I'm going to start over and do this again. So I'm going to go crop, and this is actually where I want it to crop, so I'm just going to go ahead and press Enter. Okay, so that's what it's going to crop. So you can go ahead and press Enter. So now when I go back to that crop tool, everything else should be gone. So if I move this image, it's only this. Before, if I would have moved it, there was so much extra left over. So you need to crop it. Okay? Now, after you have done that, our next step here is we need to go through and remove the background. So you need to figure out which of these lasso tools, or is it the quick selection tool that's going to work best for you to remove the background. We practiced some different ones, so you might have to use some different techniques here. I'm going to go ahead and try the quick selection tool first, see if that will work. So you need to make sure as you are doing this that you don't have any inside dotted lines. So everything that you want outlined, so if you're aiming for this person, okay, so that worked okay because it stands out from the background. So now if I were to press delete, it's going to delete me, and that's not what I want. So Command Z there. Remember, go up top, select inverse, then press delete, and now your background is removed, okay? So now we are actually ready to start on to our next step. So I'm going to Command D to get rid of those moving lines. And I know that there's this little bit of my hair here that's not perfect, but that's okay. So now I need this to go on to the other document. Well, first, before I do that, excuse me, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer, drag it down here, and let's name this one whoever your person is. Miss Shukai 1, and let's go ahead and name this one background 1. And we'll change these names later on. So now just to start, I'm going to get a new layer of a background, and I'm just going to make this green just so it stands out pretty simple. I'm going to go to my bucket tool, and I'm just going to fill in my background, okay? That way it's easy to tell where the background is, where the person is. So now we're actually done using this page here, and we're going to transfer this over to our other document. So to do that, I'm going to hold down Shift and click on both of these layers. Now let go of Shift, right click, and we are going to duplicate layers. But this time, I don't want to duplicate layers on Pop Art 2. I want to send it to Pop Art 1. So I go down here to Document because it's asking me the destination I would like to send it to. Go to Pop Art 1, press OK. So now when you go over here to Pop Art 1, your image is on there. And we are going to be making 4 different sizes of these. So we already have, so they're going to evenly fit on here, okay? So now what I want you to do is let's go ahead and duplicate those layers again. But this time, we're going to keep it on Pop Art 1. So now you can see that it made Miss Shukai 1 copy, background 1 copy. Go ahead, change that to the name 2 and background 2. Got to keep our layers organized, otherwise it'll get confusing. So now I'm going to highlight both of those because I want to move them together. I'm going to use the Move tool and I'm going to just move it across here. Now, just so I know what area I'm working on, I'm actually going to go ahead and change the color of this background to just a different color. And you'll have the opportunity to change these later, but just so you know where you're working. So now I can tell that this one's a different background than that first one. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate that again. Shift, click both of them, right click, duplicate layers. Go to the Move tool, and you can either just go across here. You can probably keep the background color for now because that should be okay to tell a difference between. And let's go ahead. I'm going to name this one Miss Shukai 3. Background 3. And then I'm going to duplicate this last one more time. Duplicate layer, keep it Pop Art 1, drag and move over, okay? And this one I'm going to change the color again. Doesn't matter. I could just do it that green, but I'm not going to right now just because this is easier, okay? Now, last thing I need to do here is I need to go over here, Miss Shukai 4, background 4. So we have a lot of layers, but that's going to help you guys kind of keep track of it. So now I'm going to show you guys some pretty cool effects. So each one of these should be a different color. There's lots of cool filters and effects that you can use, and I will show you some of those. So if I go here to Miss Shukai 1, we're going to focus on the person first. So if I come up here to Image Adjustments, there's some different things that you can do. This one's pretty cool. You can invert it, which will, well, that one's not cool. It's a little scary, but that can be something that you do a little bit different, okay? Other adjustments here, I go in posterize. So if you want it to look more like a poster, you can tell by, as you turn this up, it looks less like that. The lower the number, the more poster it looks, okay? So that's an option for you as well, and it can be kind of cool. So I'm just going to go ahead and maybe leave that one for now, okay? So maybe that's one way I'm changing that. So I'm going to go to Miss Shukai 2 here, and I'm going to change that one again. So I'm going to go to Image Adjustments, and this time I'm going to go to Gradient Map. And this one's pretty cool because just like gradient backgrounds, it does that over top. So you can go in here and add in different gradients to see how that will work. Some of them can be pretty cool. Some of them maybe don't look the best over the shape that you have. Now, there's not very many options here, so to add more to this, press this little gear here, and these are different combinations. So if I click this one, press append, and it adds more to it. Okay, so those are some different ones that you can add in. So you can just keep doing that, press append, and you'll keep adding more and more of those just to give you a variety of colors. If you guys can figure out how to make your own, I haven't taught you that yet, you can make your own gradients. And if you're wanting to know how to do that, you can certainly look that up. Okay, so there's tons of different ones that you can use. Okay, so that might be an option for you. Some of them look a little scary. Okay, but those are some different ideas here. Okay. I'm just going to leave it as this one for now, okay? So I'm going to go press OK, and I'm going to go to Miss Shook Eye 3. So you can add filters to these, so maybe you want this to be a certain color. You can go in here, and there's lots of different things that you can do, okay? So if I press Distort, and I want to go, let's see, Pixelate. If I change these numbers a little bit, some of this it's going to change a little bit. So you got to kind of play with that a little bit. So that was a lot, made the colors really big. But there's a lot of different filters that you can use. Stylize might be one that you guys use. You might come in here. Just play around with this stuff, okay? Now, one other thing that you can do is I'm going to go to my last layer here, and you probably want these to be just a little bit more colorful, okay, but I'm just showing you some different things here. So like, for instance, you can combine these. So here, I'm going to go back to this one, and I'm going to put in a gradient map, and I'm going to have this one just kind of be, I'm going to add in some simple ones. So I'm just going to have this one be pretty simple colors. Oh, this one, I look so scary. This picture is scary. I'm so sorry. Okay, well, I'm just going to leave it at this because all the other ones look scary. Okay, but you can actually combine things. So I've put in a gradient map, and then I can posterize it. Okay, so that can be kind of cool. I can come in, and I can actually add another thing to it. This threshold can be kind of cool too, but it'll turn things black and white, but you can go in and select color a little bit too. You can also use this selective color, and it will make certain colors stand out a little bit more. So that's just something that you guys can play around with a little bit as well too. There's tons and tons of options, and you guys will probably come up with some other things that I haven't showed you, which is totally fine, okay? Now you can also go in here, and I'm just going to use the magic wand tool to select around me. Then I'm going to do select inverse. And you can actually, so now only me is selected, you can actually drop in a gradient over top. So maybe you want it to be a little bit different. I'm going to do kind of this rainbow one. I'm going to drag it across this way. Now I can't really see it, but you can come here. Oops, before you do that, sorry. Turn down the opacity. That makes it see-through. And you can see that the color now just comes over top of me. If you want it to be a little darker, you can do it again. So that could be an option as well. Okay? And I'm going to undo that. Now, your last option that I'm going to show you, if you have your layer selected, you press this FX down here, and you can do some cool things down here. So you can do a gradient overlay. So what that does is it's similar to a gradient map, but it's going to be just a little bit different. You have a little bit more control, okay? So those are some things there, and you can figure out how to add your different colors in there. Some other options you can do a pattern overlay. So you can actually select a pattern to put over top of this. So that could be one thing. But you'll have to play around with the opacity so that we can see some of that stuff. You can also just come in here, and if, like, let's say you want the hair a certain color, you can take your magic wand tool or your quick selection tool, And you can manually come in and paint those areas the color that you want. What you want to make sure though is that whatever color you're using, that the opacity is turned down. So let's say I want my hair to be green. I can come over top. Oh, I need that to be a little bit darker. I can come over top and actually make some of that stuff green. Okay, so I don't have this selected perfectly right now. But I could do that with the lips if I wanted it to be a different color. So I can actually go in and do some of that stuff on my own. Then after you're done with that, you simply need to change backgrounds. They can be solid colors. You can use gradients in the background. But one of the things, just make sure you have the area that you're working on selected. So if I want to drop a gradient into here, so I want a rainbow background, notice that it fills in the entire area. So what you need to do is use your magic wand tool, clicking the background. Now I'm going to fill my gradient tool in. So be creative. They can all look a little bit different, but they can be super fun and super colorful.